You're listening to the Creativepreneur Podcast, Episode 5, and today I'm continuing the conversation from Episode 4 on how to create a business that doesn't sacrifice the quality of your life. So, stay tuned. Hello, my name is Rodney Washington, author, artist, and entrepreneur, and I'm passionate about helping creatives just like you do what lights you up and make a comfortable living while doing it. Each week, I'll be sharing timely business growth, marketing, and mindset hacks and interviews with courageous creative entrepreneurs to inspire you to get paid for your creativity. So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and enjoy today's show. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my free audio, book, and PDF, Get Paid for Your Creativity, 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts and Create True Security for Yourself. To get your hands on a copy of the free audiobook and PDF, go to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57ways-gift. Welcome back to the podcast. Now, if you've been listening, then I want to thank you so much for your support. It's super important that if you found value and that you share that with me, because I can only get better with your support. And so if you have any suggestions for me, or perhaps if there's a particular topic you'd like me to cover, or perhaps you'd like me to, like someone you'd like to see featured on a future episode, feel free to share that with me. Now, you can connect with me via Instagram at Creativepreneur Podcast, and then you can hit me up through the DMs. And also, if you're a creative entrepreneur, perhaps with a current business, I especially want to hear from you. So please hit me up on Instagram and DM me, and I'll reply as soon as possible. Of course, if you're new to me and this is your first time hearing the show, welcome. I know there are a lot of podcasts that you could be listening to, especially in the entrepreneur space. So I want to thank you for checking out mine, and I hope that you found value in what I'm sharing. Lastly, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, I would love it if you would rate the show and perhaps leave a review if you feel so inspired. I accept all feedback. It's only that I can get better through your generous comments and your support, and it means a great deal to me and helps other entrepreneurs like you find the podcast. So thanks again. Alrighty, so on to today's show. Now, if you listen to episode 4, titled The Passion-Based Business Plan, Part 1, this is Part 2 of that episode, and it's a continuation of that conversation. Now, if you listen to Part 1, in the opening, I said that the most important question we will ever ask ourselves as entrepreneurs is, what do I want? And I said in that episode that when you can answer that question, your next action will become clear. Now, I know many creative entrepreneurs, and I know we can feel like we need to have everything figured out before we can actually start taking action. And from personal experience, I can tell you that is absolutely not the case. As a matter of fact, if you think that you've got to have it all figured out, I almost guarantee you that you're either on the wrong path or worse. And when something happens to derail you from that plan, that's when our feelings of self-doubt can creep in, and there's a real good chance that you may even stop going for your dream. So the point is to know the next right action based on clarity that you're developing of knowing what it is that you truly want for your life. Now, when you can do this, then you can design your business around the type of lifestyle you want to live, not working yourself to death and accepting whatever little moments of joy and fun that you can grab. Now, again, before we get started, I'm thrilled to announce that the podcast is now available on iTunes and Spotify, as I said earlier, and you'll find the links for both players inside the show notes over at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/005 for episode 5. So in episode 4, I introduced you to the Idea Work Lifestyle Template. And if you haven't already downloaded that, you can get your copy via the free gift that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. I'll go over that with you now. It's called 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts. The link to that template and the ones that I have for you today are also inside of that PDF. You can grab and get access to all of this by going to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift, or in the show notes if you're on that page. Now, just a quick recap about last week's episode 4. I asked 4 questions to consider as you're laying the foundation for your ideal work-life lifestyle. The first is, When you think of a typical workday in your ideal life, what's happening? For example, what's your morning like? What are you doing in the afternoon? What time of day do you stop working? What day do you start? What time do you start? I ask questions around where do you live? Perhaps your ideal life is different from where you currently are living now. So perhaps if you're in the city, you might want to move to the country. If you live in the mountains, you might want to move to the beach. It's up to you, but whatever you feel in your heart, this is where you really like to be. Think about that and write that down. I asked you also to describe your day to day work life experiences. How much time do you spend serving clients? How much time do you give yourself to create new content? How much personal time do you have for yourself to do other things besides money making activities? How are you spending that personal time? And most importantly of all, I ended that particular exercise with what are the top 3 personal goals you want to accomplish in the next 12 months? So again, if you, to get that template, go to the freebie, download that, and that template is called the Ideal Work Lifestyle Template. You can download that inside of the, download that and work through those questions. Now, I also ask questions around how you're serving clients. So I ask questions like, how deep are you going with your clients? Again, the more you can emphasize service and the quality of that service, the more you can charge if you're working with people on a one-on-one basis or even a group experience. What transformation do your clients expect? Like, what are they looking from where they are to where they want to go? What does that transformation look like? Okay. What can you deliver that's unique to you? This is really important because, again, no matter what your profession is, I have no doubt in my mind that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people doing something similar to what you do. It's not that because someone else is selling it or offering it that you can't do it too. It's just that your spin, your take on it, and the fact that you are different from everyone else, it's going to make your delivery very different. So, and in this worksheet, this gives you an opportunity to be able to research or find and discover what that unique sweet spot is for you. And that will help differentiate you from everyone else so that you are uniquely providing that to the people who are meant to be with you. I also ask questions like, do you see yourself meeting with clients in person or customers in person, like a store or workshops or anything that requires you to be face to face with people? Or are you doing everything on the internet? It could be a combination of the two. It depends upon your business and business model. I also ask questions around how many clients or customers are you currently serving? And finally, how many do you want to serve? I also mentioned in that podcast episode where I mentioned that it's not always about quantity. Again, this is where a lot of creatives can get in trouble, is because we will not always adjust our pricing. So therefore we can get into trouble by having less people and we're charging less money, which means that we have to take on more people to hit the revenue goals that we have. So instead of, what I want to encourage you is, instead of taking on more people, raise your pricing. Get your pricing in alignment so that you can work with smaller, intimate collections of people, as opposed to having to deal with the masses, unless that's really what you want to do. If that's your model and you want to work with hundreds, possibly thousands of people at the same time, that's fine too. But the pricing should be reflective of the not just the output, but the way that you want to structure your time. Again, with every business model that you have, there's going to be pluses and some might construe as minuses. So it's really important to get clear about that as you're developing what your business model is going to be, meaning how you generate money and what you're charging for that service. So you're not having to take on more and more people to hit the revenue goals, or you're charging so little that you can't really sustain yourself, or you are maxing yourself out because you're taking on too many people and they have a lot of demands on your time and what they expect from you, and therefore you're constantly playing catch up. And so both of them can have their pluses and minuses. So that's really important to get clear about those things, or at least get an idea about what it would look like for you. Now, I want to encourage you truly not to gloss over these questions, but to take them very seriously, because getting clear on how you want to live affects the choices that you make. Everything from deciding what to sell, who you want to work with, and how you will find those prospective clients and customers to purchase those things from you. But more importantly, how you structure your business to support your ideal life. For example, you might be thinking that running a membership site could be your ticket to financial freedom. But in reality, you might discover that being responsible for a large group of people constantly asking for your direct support too daunting and too much of a demand on your time. Now, mind you, I am not suggesting or telling you that to shelve the idea of a paid membership community. But as you're trying to figure out what works best for you, you want to know the areas and potential pitfalls of a particular business model before you decide to jump in both feet. So again, do take that time, download that ideal work lifestyle template before moving on to what I have for you today, which is the income idea generator worksheet, also found in today's sponsored freebie, again, that you can find at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift. And you will find that template under Monetize Your Gifts key number 32. Remember, there's 57 ways. That link for that ideal life work template is under gift number 32. Okay, now one of the things I want to start off with today is we have two templates, or actually one template, and then a work. It's not really a worksheet. It's more of a bonus sheet that I'm going to go over with you in just a moment. And then I also have a list of 20, actually it's 21 ways, or 21 ideas, that you can implement as you're looking at your idea business model, that you can look at as possible contenders for you. Now, as I said, it's 21 ways in there. I'm not going to go over all 21 ways in this episode. You can download that and look at that list and see which ones call out and speak to you. I do want to focus our time today on helping you work through the income generator exercise. And that one is what we're going to focus on now. So when you go to that gift, download that worksheet, and then you can also download the idea worksheet, and you can kind of, as you're writing out your answers, you can go back and look and say which ideas may be applicable to the kind of business model that you're thinking might be a good fit for you. Now, the crux of the income generator exercise is this. The single fastest way to generate more cash is to create a synergetic match between what you love, your talents, your skills, and gifts, and match them to the desires of the people that you currently serve or hope to serve in the future. Now, in this worksheet, we're going to explore your current resources, things like what access to equipment that you have, current clientele, educational knowledge resources, the deliverables that your clients have told you they're willing to pay for. Those are kind of the basic things we're going to cover. So we're going to break this down. And again, it would probably help if you had that worksheet available to you as I'm reviewing this, so that you can actually pause the podcast and then do your answers there. So the first question on that worksheet template I ask you is, what do I have? In that question, I want you to list your resources, the people, equipment, knowledge, and connections. Now, this is really, really important here. And again, it's something I really don't want you to gloss over. Don't be dismissive of your network. And what I mean by that is people that are either working with you directly already, or people that you're connected to that may be a potential client or customer, may not be. It's not so much the point if they're a potential customer. Everyone knows someone that could potentially be a prospect for you. So what I want you to do in this part of the exercise is to make a list of everyone in your circle, meaning everyone that people, for example, following you on social media, Instagram or Facebook. There may be certain names of people that you've been interacting and engaging with that comes to mind. Those people could potentially become connectors for you that could connect you to other people. Obviously, your personal Rolodex. That could be emails or former business colleagues or current business colleagues. It could be current clients that you have. It could also be Facebook groups that you're involved in. Those are really important. It could also be if you have a Facebook group of your own, or a page of your own on Facebook. That could be another source of connections. It could also be your email list if you already have one and been building one. The point I want to make is that again, we will have access to so many people in our circle of influence, and we don't think of them as a connector for us. Again, they may not be your person who will actually hire you or use your product or service, but they may know someone that is. So it's not a question. It's not so much the point that you're going to reach out to all these people. That will come later, but it's to get clear about who is in your network. And from personal experience, I can tell you, people people are your greatest resource. You can have great equipment, you can have the best whatever, gear, cameras, computers, whatever, but people and connecting with people and being able to communicate with people is going to move the needle far faster on your journey than focusing on external things like equipment and things like that. Being able to reach out to someone and ask a question of, and be able to offer support to them and they offer support to you, can be the best and most valuable and key resource that you have in your whole as you're planning all of this. So I would really highly recommend that you get really creative, go through everything, your emails. If you have a mailing list, like I said before, go through that. Go through your social media platforms. If you've gone to any networking groups, spoke on stages, anything of that nature, write all of that down, because that's going to be your referral base that you're going to go back to connect with as you're now implementing your new business model or expanding on or altering your current business model. Okay. The next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to list all of your education. I'm not necessarily talking about accredited college degrees here. I'm talking about certifications, workshops, books you've read, coaches or mentors or other teachers that you've studied with. Have you been interviewed on podcasts? List them. Have you spoken to any networking groups? List them. If you've delivered any kind of presentation to a group, whether large or small, even if you think it's insignificant, list that. Other things that could be resources for you that you're not even recognizing is, are you a published author? Or have you contributed any writing to blogs or anthologies or reports? List those things. As I mentioned a moment ago, are you involved in any Facebook groups? Been on any podcast or have an active blog? Those things can also be resources. And when I mean by an active blog, I mean a blog that you create content on that people have commented on your blog post. So those can be, again, another source of resource for you. And then lastly, what equipment do you have that's necessary to perform the service that you offer? In this case, it could be computers, software. It could also be courses or training programs that perhaps you've invested in. Many of us have done many online programs of some sort or another and have invested quite a bit of money in those things. So those are resources for you. List those things. What I find really important here is that we do ourselves a huge disservice when we don't write down what we have available to us. A lot of times we can operate from the space of immediately defaulting to, well, I can't do this because I don't have. And the purpose of this exercise and why it's so valuable is that once you have it all listed out, whenever you are needing to implement something, do something, reach out to someone for whatever purpose it may be in your running of your business, you can go back to that worksheet and look because you listed everything. And from that, it could inspire an idea. It could inspire you to reach out to email someone. It can inspire you to even connect two people or more on your list, which I think is very powerful. When you can be a connector, people really have value in the person who is doing the connecting. So if you know someone over here that has something that complements someone over here, you can connect the two together. People remember that and they appreciate that, and they will try to reciprocate in kind. So don't always look at it like, what is it in direct for me? what am I getting directly from this by calling this person, but how can I connect two or more people? So always kind of look at that for ideas and keep adding to the sheet so that, again, if new things come up, perhaps, you sign up for a new program or a new course, or you went to a talk and you learned something that really could inspire other people. You could share what you learned. There's all kinds of ways to do this, but the idea is your number one valuable resource is your network. So focus on those things and write those things down. Again, it's very, very important. And you want to have that available at your fingertips whenever you need it. Now, moving on to the next part, the next question I have on for that worksheet is ask yourself who you are. And what I mean by that is who, not just your title, although that's important. If you're a painter, write that down. If you're a photographer, write that down. If you are a author, a writer, whatever, write those things down. But when I also ask the question, who am I? Ask yourself, what's those characteristics or traits or things about you that you really like to, you feel good about yourself when you engage in them, like being a connector. I love connecting people. So if I know of two people or three people and I hear one say something that they need or that they're looking for, I find value and joy in connecting someone to someone else. Because again, it's not about what I'm going to get directly, but what I can create for someone else by helping them find each other. We can be a source of inspiration and, in truth, an answered prayer to almost anyone. It's all in getting clear on what do I have available to me and how can I use this to help somebody else? Because it does come back. It really does come back. So don't underestimate this or overlook it because it's very valuable. So ask yourself, am I a connector? Maybe you really like connecting people. Am I intuitive? Maybe you pick up on things that other people just sometimes don't always see or notice, and you can maybe share that insight with someone. So when I say, who am I? Yes, of course, there's the title of the job or the business or the service you provide. But also ask yourself a deeper question. Am I empathetic? Am I an intuitive? Am I a connector? Am I a creator? Go into those deeper level layers of understanding who you are, because those serve you well in knowing how to use that gift to be able to then share the tangible things that you may have, like connections or books or resources or what have you. Next, what are your accomplishments? So again, have you written a book? Have you published a blog? Do you have an existing business? Have you sold your product or your service? What are your accomplishments? Have you won any awards? Have you gotten a degree? Even if it's not in the thing that you are selling, but do you have a certification in something? Have you been on, like I said, a podcast, spoke on a large stage? Do you have an email list? I mean, some people don't even have email lists. So do you have like 300, 500, 5,000 people on your email list? Do you have a large social media following? Maybe you have 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers. What are those things that you've accomplished? And it doesn't have to be about your business per se. It can be about the fact that you are a great listener and that people always compliment you on that. It could be that you're a great mom or a great dad, or you have, a really close, tight-knit family. You're the bridge and the connector that can keep people all sort of in a state of peace and calm when you enter the room. Those things are all a part of your accomplishments. So don't always think of accomplishments as an external thing, but also think about those things that you've done that have brought you great joy and a sense of pride in the fact that you were able to do and deliver and be that person for other people. Again, we're all looking for someone that is committed to being of service and wanting to be a light for other people. As I mentioned on the episode, I believe episode 2 on believing in yourself, we can inspire people without even realize we're inspiring them by the fact that we take action on our dreams. And a lot of us really totally and completely underestimate that. Especially if you're in your close knit circle, some of your maybe could be a spouse or a partner or your family or whatever that just doesn't understand or get what you're doing. So the mere fact that you can actually go for what you want, whether it's to write that book or do that show or create that product or whatever the case may be, and even though they might not be as supportive as you wished or hoped they'd be, the mere fact that you stick to your guns and you do it, then you inspire them to maybe do something too. At least that's been my experience. If I go for something that's important to me, not that I'm asking for permission, but if I go for something that I want, then people around me who may not get it will see what I'm doing and be inspired by what I'm doing and then want to go for their own thing. So again, don't underestimate that. That's a very valuable gift that I know for a fact all of us are equipped with. And it's the one thing that we underestimate and ignore because we, to be a little blunt here, we get too self-centered about ourselves and think that, well, if I don't have everyone around me cheering me on or supporting me from the jump, I can't do this. I don't feel, I mean, there could be logistical things happening why you can't do something, but I would say don't give that a lot of extra power and focus on taking some kind of action in the direction of where you want to go. And as a result of that, what you need to manifest, what you need to do will come into fruition for you. So again, all of this fits into a part of building the ideal lifestyle dream life that you want for yourself. So don't underestimate that. Now, this ties into what have you accomplished that you know people would most want to learn. A lot of times we have gifts that we don't even recognize as gifts. You may be a fantastic cook, and it might not be something that you think of as a business. But if you have people all the time saying, my God, you make the most amazing meals, it's always wonderful and just, I love your presentation. I love everything you do you do with this. This is really something that, and you can even have people even saying to you, this is something you should consider as a business idea, presuming you don't have one already that you're pursuing. Listen to those things. So again, what accomplishments do you have that people would love to learn? Because again, that's really important. If people want to learn how to do what you do, then there's a really good chance they're willing to pay to learn how to do what you do. So whatever that might be, whether it's knitting, whether it's baking, whether it's how to put together a book or put together a website or how to do watercolors, or whether it's photography and how to photograph nature or birds or babies or whatever the case may be. There's all kinds of talents that we have that people ask us about all the time. We sometimes will dismiss or ignore it. But those things could be something that people, if they're asking you about it and how to do it, you could potentially package that up and offer that and sell that as a product or a service. So write those 3 things down. And this is another one that I really love is, what are your 3 insider secrets or tips? The number one disservice that we do ourselves is feeling like or thinking that because something becomes easy to us, that everybody, and I'm using air quotes here, knows what you know. And that, I think, messes us up and throws us off more than anything, because no, not everyone knows what you know. And to assume that, again, is a huge disservice to them and a huge disservice to you. If you're passionate about something, and let's just pick photography for an example, you might read lots of magazines on photography and go to online classes and in-person classes on photography. You're always reading articles, checking out websites, maybe listening to podcasts, reading books. You're studying the latest equipment and gear, and you understand all the different nuances of a particular brand of camera. And you know Photoshop and how to edit things, and you know how to export things in certain file sizes, and you know how to print images and perhaps frame them, and how to take them and get them into a gallery show, and how to set up a website, and how to sell those images, and how to price them and put them into a book, and just the list just goes on and on and on and on. You can't assume that anyone around you knows all of those things. Now, perhaps you're not getting paid for all of those things that you know, but it still doesn't negate the fact that they're valuable. And someone else looking for someone like you that knows what you know would pay you to know all of those things, just the things I just listed. To know, what magazines do I read? What books do I go to? What classes do you recommend? How do I use this camera? What does this stop mean over that stop? How do I work with Photoshop? How do I export, import? The list just goes on and on. So again, I would suggest starting with your top 3 insider tips. It could be more. It probably is going to be more. So start with 3, but if that's really inspiring you, write more out, because guess what? You can use those 3 insider tips and turn that into a freebie that you can use to build your list. Okay, you can turn that list of extra tips or whatever resources into a PDF document, and we'll talk about this in future episodes of the show, but how to actually use it as a list builder. So again, don't discount what you know, write it all out. It's important to do these brain dumps, because when we're creative, we have a lot of stuff in our heads, we make a lot of assumptions, and we don't let our minds get clear by putting all that information someplace else where it can be stored and referred back to when we need it. So again, do that. Start out with the top 3, but if you're feeling so inspired, go ahead and write out, make it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can massage that number however you need to for the things you use to build your list with, but start there. I think this is very important. And again, an exercise that I don't want you to overlook or underestimate. Next, moving on to what does my ideal customer want and how do they want it delivered? And I'm just going to go through these questions here because, again, you used a worksheet to fill this out. So I'm going to go through these and I'm going to make a suggestion on how to figure this out. Do they want to work with me one-on-one? Do they want classes, workshops, or perhaps boot camps, private or group retreats? Do they want items shipped directly to their home? Do they want an online forum, email access, home study program? Now, I realize that at this juncture, for some, that these questions may be a little trickier to answer unless you're already working with your ideal people. And in that case, you can reach out to them, preferably by telephone if you can, and just ask them. This part, you're going to need support. So I would not say to just make it up in your head what you think people want, because that's going to get you into some potential issues. It's important to get into contact with people that you can ask these questions of, and you can get that intel from them, because that's going to help you form and shape what the final thing is you're going to offer. If you don't have current customers, for an example, that network list that I just suggested earlier that you do, go back and refer to that, because you may find 1, 2, 5, 10 people in your network between social media, emails, Rolodex, and your phone, your email, all the contacts on your phone, your address book, and reach out to those people that you think could be a good fit to work with you. And even if you just honestly cannot think of anyone in your whole sphere that might be a good fit, put it out there that this is something that you're working on. This is something that you're creating. Let's just say what appeals to you right now is perhaps creating an online course. You've never done that before. You don't know what's entailed in it, but that's not the point right now. You just want to You're thinking about it. You have an idea. Maybe you want to say something simple. You want to do something around Photoshop and teaching Photoshop editing. Perfect. Start with that. Reach out to some people in all of your places of influence and simply send out a direct message and say, I'm thinking about creating a course on Photoshop. People are always commenting on my pictures that I post and they really like them. And I'm always getting questions around this. And is this something I'm thinking about? I'm not sure. I want to make sure I'm putting together the right thing. Would you perhaps be willing to get on the phone with me for maybe, 10, 15 minutes and let me ask you some questions around it if this is something that you're interested in, or if you know someone interested in learning how to get better with Photoshop that you could connect to me to? That's a simple ask that you can do. And of course, in that ask if there anything that comes up that I can help you with, Feel free to ask, and if I can support you, I will. If I can't, perhaps I know someone that I can refer you to. When you send an invitation that simple, people hear it. They hear the sincerity, you extending the fact that you want to help them, and they'll be more prone to come back and answer your question and connect with you to find out what it is that they want or your ideal person wants, so that you can get clarity on this particular series of questions. Now, this moves us on to the final question, and I realize as I ask this of you that you may not have an exact answer yet for this if you are not currently serving your ideal client or customer in your ideal way. But it doesn't hurt to get this in your mind to start thinking about as you're planning what you're going to create. So I'm going to just go with the question and then we'll speak about it. What can I do to wow my customers and turn them into repeat clients? Now, again, this is really super important, so I really don't want you to skip this part, because the deeper that you can go, the more higher that you can elevate the level of service to meet and exceed expectations, the easier it will be to charge a premium price. I'm going to repeat that. The deeper you can go, the higher you can elevate the level of service to meet and exceed your customers' expectations, the easier it will be to charge a premium price. Now, let me share an example with you here. You may have, let's say, a mini course that you create that is, let's just pick a topic here. I remember hearing about a lady that learned how to can her own fruits and vegetables, and she was into sustainable farming. And it was something that she just did on her own, but she started talking about it on social media, and people asking her how she did it. Because let's face it, organic produce is expensive. So some people are wanting to learn how to farm and create their own gardens and produce their own organic vegetables, and then how to preserve and can them. So she knew how to do this, and she created a mini course in doing this. In the beginning, I believe one of the price points she had, I think when she started, was around $97. And she had quite a few people that purchased that. But then she elevated it when people started asking more in-depth questions that went beyond the scope of the free course that she had. So I believe she created a larger course and a Facebook group of some sort, that allowed people to constantly be able to ask her questions. They had access to her, and vice versa. She could answer their questions and give them more tips and recipes and other ideas and things like that. So while the just home study, hands off, sort of you purchase this on the website and, we're sort of kind of done, it's a one and done transaction, was around $97. I believe that she created a continuity program so that she's able to constantly answer people's questions as they come up for them. And I believe she charges around $39 a month, or maybe even more. I also believe she also has a home study course of some sort that's a little bit higher price point. So those are just an example of a business model idea that you could have. It's three business models. It's a lower price introductory level home study course, a higher price, more involved, some might call your signature course. And then she also has, I believe, a continuity model where she has an ongoing monthly membership. Now, the way that if she could have said, I really don't want to go any deeper with people than this, I may be just fine with the introductory level course for $97, and that's all I'm going to offer. But ways that she could make that experience even deeper for them, or elevate it even deeper for them, is to maybe give them, obviously, free updates to the course as she adds them. She might decide to add a Facebook group component that she's on occasionally, but not all the time. So the members kind of they manage themselves, so to speak. She pops in there, but she's not in there all the time. She could also create an in-person type experience where people could come to maybe her farm or some farm that she knows about, and she can work with them hands-on and show them more about produce and how to grow it and what soils to use and the different types of soils to use and what particular items grow better based on certain climates that the person might be living in, how to produce and can those things or preserve those things, what things preserve better. Maybe have a cooking class experience where they actually produce food, meals that they can, based on the things that they've grown, and maybe even turn it into a cookbook of some sort or anything related to that. That's a way to take the experience deeper. And those are just a few examples on how to take that experience and make it and create it and make it deeper so that it just goes from like a mini course into an in-person experience, like a retreat, to possibly other online courses or programs or membership thing in between that entry-level price point course and that in-person experience if she chooses to do that. That's just one way. So use that idea that I just shared as a way to think, how can I elevate this and provide even more service? It doesn't even have to be anything as involved as an in-person experience. Perhaps that person, maybe you have something physical that relates to the digital thing that they bought that you don't tell them they're going to get when they purchase, but you send it in the mail to them. We do so many things online right now that anytime you can integrate in an in-person, on a physical, more tactile experience, it really makes your digital offerings more valuable to them because they're getting that online, that offline experience too. There's a gentleman that does I think it's James Wedmore. He does a program called Mind Your Business podcast. He also has a course. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's escaping me. I'll put it in the show notes. But when you purchase this program, I think it's close to $3,000. He sends out some things in the mail to you, which is something that's a complete surprise. But people like that. People like that you take an extra little step. It doesn't have to be that you're just constantly giving them things, but that you take what you have and find a complimentary offer or a complimentary service or program that you can add on to it to elevate what it is that they're buying from you initially. So just something to think about. Oh, James Wedmore's program is called Business by Design. I just took a second to remember that. That's what it's called. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, as I said, go through that worksheet, fill all of that out, do the ideal work lifestyle template from episode 4, do this income generator exercise from this episode here, get all that down. And then as a bonus, I wanted to share with you is called Income Personal Portfolio in Less Than 30 Minutes. So as I just mentioned, I sort of outlined it just briefly. We start with one core idea. But how can we take that one core idea and expand upon it and perhaps create 5? Now, there's a caveat to this. You don't want to, and I'm not recommending that you actually do all 5 ideas at the same time. That's not really going to work because what's going to happen is you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to find yourself, quite frankly, not doing anything because you're overwhelmed by all the different things that you're trying to do at the same time. So the idea is to get one income model under your belt, get it just set up and built, but then look at the other 4, maybe look at 4 additional ways that you can build an additional income stream based on the original idea. So let's go over that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a list of all of your favorite topics, passions, subjects, skills, and expertise. And remember, whatever is second nature to you, someone this very minute is searching for a solution to the thing that comes second nature to you, and they're willing to pay for it. Okay? And it's really important that you don't censor your answers here. So write all of those things down. Let's review it one more time. Make a list of your favorite topics, passions, subjects, skills, and or expertise. The second part of this exercise is you're going to pick one item from your list and write down 5 things you know about that selected topic or creative passion. So let's go back to some of the examples I've shared. Let's say that photography is one of your skills. The thing that you love to do is one of your passions. We're going to pick that one item from all the things that you listed. We're going to choose that one because that's the one for our example here and maybe the one that's most appealing to you. Now we're going to write down 5 things about that we know. So let's say that the creative gifting, the skill, the passion was photography. The 5 things we know about that is the following. As I mentioned earlier, editing images in Photoshop, printing and setting up images for a gallery show, turning my photos into an art book, maybe selling my art book, and then setting up a blog or website. Maybe you know how to build up an Instagram following. You know what pictures to post, how to post them, what keywords to use or hashtags for Instagram. You know what time of day. You know what images go over better than others. You know how to connect people that would be interested in your images. You know how to transition people from Instagram over to your personal website to sign up for your mailing list. That could be one of your skills. So the focus here is to pick one of your giftings, write down 5 things that you know about that gifting. That's part 2. The last thing is explore how you can make money from just one item you wrote on your list of 5. So as I mentioned a moment ago, I just mentioned Instagram for a photographer. If you have a large Instagram following, you know all the things I just posted, I just talked about, what to post, how to post it, what hashtags to use, how to connect, how to transition people from your Instagram page over to your personal website or get on your email list. If those are all the things that you really are seasoned in and you know about, okay, that could be the number one way. Well, let's back it up. That you know all of these things and you could conceivably teach someone else how to do just that. You can actually go and stand in front of a room full of photographers. And let's say for the case of this example, to get real specific here, let's say it's travel photographers. And not just travel photographers, but travel photographers who photograph Paris. So you can get in front of a group of photographers, travel photographers that love Paris, and you can teach them. Now that may be too drilled down, but let's go with that example. And you can teach them how to build an engaging Instagram following that gets people clicking, liking, and wanting to connect with your images and join your email list to buy your prints or your book. That is something that you could speak about in that specific of terms, and someone wanting to do just what you just said would raise their hand and say, I want to learn more about you. I want to learn more about what you do. Okay. Now, going to the income idea generator sheet that I have that has 20 ideas, let's workshop that for a second. You could turn that into what I just talked about. You could turn that training into a mini course. And when I say a mini course, I mean you could do like an online training, maybe like a webinar or something on Zoom, record that, make some handouts to complement the video training, and sell that for around, I'd say anywhere from like a $57, $97 price point. Okay. A second idea you could turn from that is a more in-depth course. And that could be something where you actually are showing people through video, if it's all online, how to find locations. What's the best locations to find? What permits, if any, do you need? Are tripods allowed or not? How to get around if you can't use a tripod in certain locations. The best times of day. The best kind of scenes that you might want to capture. Then, how to study the light in that particular area. Once you've done that, maybe you talk about how to convert images to black and white. How much Photoshop is too much Photoshop? Or if it's not Photoshop, maybe it's Lightroom. How much is too much? How much is enough? You can teach a whole component just on Photoshop editing and on Lightroom editing. If you use a professional camera but also a mobile phone, you could have a whole module in your course on how to use mobile apps to do your editing, how to take pictures on your phone. You don't have access to the lens capabilities that you have with a professional camera unit. There are some apps, some tools that you can get to attach to your phone to expand your camera capability. for your mobile phone, but most people are going to use their professional camera. But you may have a whole section in there about mobile and how to do mobile and how to immediately edit it, post it, and tag it and all of those things on Instagram. All these things I'm talking about can be built out into a larger course. So maybe you start with that smaller introductory course and then you expand on a larger course. That could be anywhere from, say, $300, $400, $500 up to possibly even $1,000, depending upon the level of interest in the audience that you have that can be interested in wanting to purchase a program like that. So that's two income models: introductory course, then a signature course. The third income model could be obviously an in-person experience. So if you arrange trips and you want to take people on tours to Paris, you can totally do that. And I would have no doubt in my mind that there will be people, obviously, if they've bought your introductory course or your more signature program, that would be lining up to want to sign up for the in-person experience with you, where you took them to France and you actually did a photo tour with them. So that could be your third income model. Fourth income model: let's say that you don't travel with them. It's not a course. They want more hands-on, one-on-one experience with you. So perhaps you set up a mentoring series where people actually contact you via the internet and you two do a Skype call or some type of video conferencing call where they can share their screen with you. You can share your screen with them. You edit and critique their images. You give them feedback and support and maybe some additional resources or tools to help them prepare their images for maybe a show they're thinking about doing or a book they're thinking about publishing or something like that. So that could be a one-on-one mentoring experience where you look at their work and help them perfect it. You can also take that a step further, and this could be income stream number 5, and that could be a group experience where you do the same thing, but now it's in person. So it's not the whole signature course that you have, which is income idea number 2. This is an extension of the one-on-one experience. It's just now in group. And it's the same idea. It could be a combination of a little bit of shooting, but more of it is editing and prepping images to be printed or published in some kind of way. If you have experience in having done a show, for an example, that could be another way that you could offer a mentoring session on how to prep your work for a show. Also, if you've published a book, a lot of photographers want to know how to do that. So you could do a mentoring session or sessions on how to prep a book. So that's how you can take one idea or one passion, which can be photography. You break it down further to get clear about the different things you know, your secret sauce, so to speak. And then you start looking at the different income models that you can build based on that one core idea or that one core skill or one core passion that you have. And again, you can refer to that worksheet that I have that gives you all the listing. It's called the Income Idea Generator. It gives you about 21 ideas about different business models that you can do. And those are just 5. There's way other ones. You can do books and membership programs and all kinds of things, but these are just 5. And the thing is this is what's really important. You're not going to do all 5 right now. You're going to start with 1 and you're going to build up and then add another and then add another layer and another layer, possibly up to 5. Okay, so that's the focus of what you want to do with this particular exercise. So that's the Income Idea Generator, how to build a portfolio in under 30 minutes. Use that in conjunction with the idea generator, the list of ideas that I have. That's all available. You can use those in conjunction. Alrighty, so here is our recap from everything we discussed today. First, I recommend, if you haven't already done so, listen to episode 4 of the podcast and download and complete the ideal work template lifestyle exercise. Repeat that. The ideal work lifestyle template. That's available in the gift that I have for you, the 57 Ways gift, and you can go get that again at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 Ways gift. The link is also here in the show notes if you're listening to this episode on the website. Okay. The next thing you want to do is you want to download the Income Generator exercise to get clarity on your resources, network, your talents, and your skills. And you'll want to review the income idea generator featuring 20 ideas to inspire you. And you can use the personal income portfolio in 30 minutes worksheet in conjunction with those two to take one gifting, one skill, break it down to five things that you know, five areas of expertise that you have, and then build five ideas from that one core gifting. So to get your hands on all of this that I have available for you today, go to getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift, or go to the show notes page for this episode at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/005 for episode 5. Now, once you've written down all your answers, then go back and review everything. And again, keep all of this handy for you because, again, it's going to be really valuable to you as you're going through your processes. So really, like I said, don't skimp on this. Don't cheat yourself out of this opportunity to get this level of clarity. As I said at the top of the episode, clarity is everything. Once you get clarity on what it is that's important to you, and you get clarity on what you have, what's available to you, your current resources that you have, then you can then from that place determine what your next action steps are going to be. And it's all in that, to me, is the core of everything. It's not about developing a whole big blown out, drawn out, I's dotted, T crossed plan. It's about getting clear on the next thing, the next step, and just doing that one action. And then the next step reveals itself to you, and on and on and on. And stay in that place of action. When you start feeling like it's getting to be too much, go back to refer to what you've already written down. What do you want? Where do you want to be? How do you want to live? What kind of experiences do you want to have? What your day-to-days look like, your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings. How are you working with people? Always be checking in with yourself, because that's going to help you through the times when things get to be a little overwhelming, because it will become at times. But by being able to get that level of clarity, and you can go back and refer to that easily, that will give you the motivation to say, all I've got to do now is the next step. You may have a list of 200 things you need to do or feel like you need to do, but the only thing you've got to do right now is just one next step. And then the next step reveals itself, and on and on and on. So with all of that said, I hope that you have found, again, inspiration, ideas. Maybe it's inspired you to take some action, which is very important. And that you are actually going to download these things. You're going to work on these worksheets. You're going to start using that clarity part to using this to help get that clarity piece, because that is, again, everything. Everything centers around that clarity piece. What I would like to encourage you to do is to connect with me on this. So again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm really active on Instagram, and I would love for you to connect with me there. You'll find the link in the show notes. My Instagram handle is Creatorpreneur Podcast, and you can reach out to me through the DM. If you'd like, when you fill out that worksheet, take a picture of it and send me that picture. And let me comment and let me share and let me encourage you, because again, I want you to use this information and not just listen to it passively. I want to make this as much as an educational experience as it is passively listening. I personally love podcasts, which is why I chose to start a podcast. And in particular, I really love podcasts that are teaching episodes. So my focus will be a lot for the shows will be teaching episodes where I'll have support materials that will support what I'm talking about that you can work through. Again, this is really important to me personally, so that's why I want to structure it this way. And as we move into future episodes, I'm going to be featuring some interviews, people that I'd like to interview. And I also want to encourage you, if you are currently have a business of your own, or you have something that you're working on that you're getting some traction on, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what inspires you, what made you decide to do what you're doing. I think that to me is something I personally get a lot of energy from, is when I know why someone does something. I heard a quote that said that people don't care so much about what you do, they care about why you do it. And I found a lot of value in that, because when you're clear about why you're doing something, you don't get mired down in the the day-to-day drudgery of things sometimes, because it can be drudge work sometimes, some of the things we have to do to get our businesses going. And so if you understand why you're doing something, you'll stay the course when things start to feel to be too much. And that's why I feel like taking time out to do these kinds of exercises are really good, because it helps you get clear about why you're doing this. Because listen, you can just go get a job and not deal with any of this stuff. But if you're listening to this, you're listening to this because some part of you knows that a job in and of itself may not be enough for you. And I'm not just talking about money here. I'm talking about fulfillment, creative fulfillment, more particularly. And I want you to embrace that. You know, that was my story. A job for me was never going to give me all I needed. I needed to be able to move and pivot and do things based on my own terms. So I spent a lot of time listening to other podcasts and going to classes and reading books and studying things to keep me motivated and inspired. But what I am finding is that inspiring myself through the things I've done myself, the accomplishments I have, the resources I have, the things that I know, inspires me more sometimes than what someone else is doing. And so I want to encourage you to inspire yourself. Use these exercises to inspire yourself. Go back and listen to these 2 episodes again. Listen to all of them up to this point. Because as we move forward now, I want to get more into more of the tactile things in terms of setting up your business online, more specifically around the areas of online presence. That's one of my areas of expertise. So I'm going to be diving a lot more into that. So I'm always going to be referring back to these episodes as sort of your foundational core elements that I feel are essential to you getting in the right mindset with the right tools to be able to move forward as we move more into more of the more tactile things like setting up an online presence. So when you're ready to open the doors, that there's some way for people to connect with you and to grow your list and to connect with them and offer your products and services. So that's what's coming moving forward. As again, I want to encourage you to share. I think episode number 3 is about questions I like to ask creative entrepreneurs to find out what it is that inspired them to start their own business. I would love to hear from you. If you got an inspiring question or inspiring story, if you have something that you personally if you can go back from where you are now and ask yourself that question as if, let's say, 5 years ago, knowing what you know now, how would you answer that question? And put that in the show notes as well. Go back and listen to episode 3 because I talk about a lot of that, and I also share the questions on that episode. And so if you feel so inspired and you want to maybe share a question with me or share your answer to what motivated you to start your own creative business, share that with me through getpaidforyourcreativity.com/talk to me. And I'll put the link also in the show notes, and you can leave up to a 3-minute voice message. And I'm going to start featuring the answers to, or those people's responses. I'm going to start featuring those on future episodes of the podcast. So that's going to be coming out soon too. So I'm going to wrap this up and let you get started with everything and download everything. As I said, you can download everything at all the worksheets and so forth at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift. The link is also here in the show notes if you're on that page at getpaidforyourcreativity.com/005 for episode 5. And the links to everything that I'm talking about will be inside of that. And again, connect with me over on Instagram. I'd love to see what you create. And I look forward to checking in with you on the next episode of the podcast. So have a great rest of your day. And whenever you're listening to this, do your exercises, share them with me, and let's do what we need to do to get paid for our creativity and do what lights us up and share it with the world. I'll see you on the next episode. Take care. We have entered the age of creative self-employment. In the new economy, people are creating true security for themselves. That's why I believe there's never been a better time in history to monetize your gifts. So if you're ready to take control of your financial and creative future, I have something for you. It's my free audio and PDF program, 57 Ways to Monetize Your Gifts and Create True Security for Yourself. And you can get that at my website, getpaidforyourcreativity.com/57 ways gift.